Hi, my name is Issei Takehara, and I currently teach at Itoki. Um, since I've received a lot of comments about how demonstration, how they would like to see the demonstration of how I teach. I decided to make this video, and but yeah, normally I will be more talkative and smiling, but since I'm talking to myself at this moment, I, you know, lessons length might be a little bit shorter. But normally there's going to be a lot more interactions, and I'm responsible to students' needs. And if they want more conversation, for instance, I will of course include more conversation, like asking questions and so on. But in any ways, my teaching style is not of a direct method or comprehensive input. So, some might say. My method is basically indirect method and heuristic, and more like the same atmosphere is more like a seminar, kind of like you are talking to a professor like one-on-one, and discussing about the topic or project that you are working on. So it should be, the studying should be fun, and the atmosphere must be sort of, you have to feel free to ask questions, and I encourage questions because I learn a lot from those questions as well, and I love questions basically. And so I suppose this is the first time that I'm doing this online style. And I thought he is online, so I not obviously this is not the first time, but this is the YouTube style, right? And so it might I may be missing something where I usually in the class either a student points out, or I already in the mindset that it's usually written here. But since this is the first time, if you have any comments or any basically comments, questions, feedbacks, and let me know. I just write them on my comments. And also I come from a background of philosophy, history. I'm a historian or philosopher, basically. And sorry, in my introduction is becoming long, but so my explanation is going to be different from, or more specifically, it's I try to explain things or concepts more accessibly to the students from other teachers. That is to say, I could explain in English subtleties that are not mentioned, or not explained enough by other Japanese teachers or in textbooks. And what I'm trying to do is the lesson one. This one, I just kind of said part one because it's going to be. This is the first clip, and I knew that I had to explain myself and my credentials. I've been teaching this for well, seriously for 3 years, maybe 2 3 years. But I've been teaching Japanese for over 10 years, like on and off. And while studying philosophy at the same time. And so but yeah, this is what I'm doing now. And and I was quite a success thanks to my students. And so yeah, I just wanted to kind of explain how I teach, because many students tell me that my approach is quite different from other teachers, and some find it, of course, maybe yeah, some find it unfitting maybe to their learning style, but that's fine. But it seems that many students like how I'm teaching. So if you have any sort of comments on that as well, like what I am doing differently from other teachers, and so on, please do let me know. Okay, so now I'm gonna start with part one, and I'm planning to make 3 short video clips explaining primarily the verbs, conjugation of the verbs, what we first have to go through. And now, part one, auxiliary verb, the verb to be. This one is okay. So before we start, in Japanese, learning Japanese, fundamentally there are two fundamentally important concepts that you need to keep keep in mind. And this is broadly speaking, right? At the very beginning, and those two fundamental concepts is that one is that the verb always comes at the very end in Japanese. So this V stands for verb, and this S stands for subject. Here, yeah. So V stands for verb, and V stands for verb. This part I will later explain, but this is going to be the subject. So what is this? This part, this is called a complement, and it's used when the verb copula is used. So this is I said auxiliary verb to be, but more specifically, it's a copula. What does it mean? It basically just means equal signs. So it kind of shows the relationship between subject and complement, and how subject is the complement. Basically, essentially the same thing. Complement is included in the concept of I, the subject. Here, I didn't explain. Watashi means I, and this is ha. But when it's used as a particle, as we later explain, the pronunciation changes into wa. And there are only 2 particles that change pronunciation, so you don't really have to worry much about it. And so yes, gakusei. This one, no, I should use different colors. Gakusei. Okay, so this means a student. I mean, you can put any noun here. It's basically C complement is usually a noun. And okay, so I equal a student, and that's what this sentence means. And the verb has to, a Japanese sentence has to end with the verb at the very end, as opposed to English sentences or other languages. And subject is comes at the very in the beginning, usually, normally. Many people say that subjects can be omitted, which is true in conversation, but in writing, you wouldn't omit a subject unless it's kind of like, people talking about it's unless it's kind of a dialogue or maybe like an essay. But normally, as a principle, we don't omit subjects because we don't, unless if we do that, we don't really know what we are talking about, right? So so 学生 here 私は学生です and forgive me that I'm kind of doing this assuming that you know how to read Japanese hiragana at least, so I'm going to be assuming that basically, and if you need some kind of practicing hiragana reading materials and stuff, do let me know. I will send it to you or send, I don't know how, but yeah, I mean, I can't really send it on YouTube, right? Well, anyway, if you're interested, you have my email address on my YouTube profile, so just direct message me. And okay, so this shows this this is where my philosophical background comes in, but in Leibnizian sense, this so you know this will be the predicate. Whatever comes after the subject is a predicate, and this is the subject. The predicate is included in the concept of subject, and this is happening. This is the same kind of that's pretty much an embodiment of that kind of philosophy. The fact that I am a student is already included in the concept of I. So basically, this is an analytic sentence. You are explaining attributes or qualities that you have and that you may lose at some point in the future. Okay, so now I said copula here, and also I said the verb to be, the auxiliary verbs. In English though, there are two primary meanings. It how should I say? The verb equal to and to exist. So in English, the verb to be has two primary meanings. One is something is equal to something, like this. S is equal to C. And in the second meaning of to be is to exist, to assertion of existence, being, as opposed to non-being, right? In Japanese, we don't have the verb to be. We just for the simplicity's sake, we just translate it as copula here, and this. So auxiliary verb or copula, the verb to be in English, the equivalent of it, in Japanese does not have this meaning, to exist. So this one is included in what is later will be explained in the action verbs, because it's considered to be an activity. Well, sort of. I mean, existence, coming into existence and passing away is an activity, right? And so this meaning does not exist. This one belongs to the action verbs. So only in Japanese, this only means equal to. And here the questions I often get is like, why do I not pronounce like u sound in this? Well, this one happens quite often with any other teachers too, but if they are Japanese, we think we are pronouncing it. So the short answer is we are pronouncing, as long as some people spend so much time on pitch accent, and I understand the value of it, but I don't think it's futile, and the reason for that is why I will later shortly explain a little bit, but In Japanese, reading is basically as long as you enunciate each letter, people do understand, and you will. I mean, this may not be proper or good. I don't know, good way of teaching it because there is, there are people who pay attention to pitch accent and then like you have to pronounce like this. But in reality, at this point, you're learning theory of the grammar, and even if you sound too monotonous in Japanese, Japanese people don't care that much, and they, yeah, for the most part, from my experience, students, whenever I tell them to pronounce each letter, enunciate each letter, they end up speaking naturally, meaning they end up sounding natural. So, and if they don't sound natural, then by speaking to other students later on, or other Japanese later on, or by coming to Japan, you will soon adjust and get adapted to the sort of a so-called pitch accent. So it's not going to be important. What is important is that you need to enunciate each letter. And so, 私は学生です. And I should say す, but at the end of す, like it's the sentence, if I said the word, emphasize the word, it sounds kind of like, what I don't know. I am a student. Sort of, you're emphasizing an unnecessary point in unnecessarily in an unnecessary manner, right? This 私は学生です sounds very weird. So we just say 私は学生です. In this so normally at the end of the sentence in Japanese, the last word, it often happens that last word tends to disappear or seem to evaporate to many non-Japanese speakers ears. But Japanese people think we think we are pronouncing it. So and the reason for that is that we don't think, for instance, this, right? This is also applicable with math as well, but this in English reading, you have like 4 letters, the consonant and vowel, but in Japanese this is the most atomic sentence or atomic letter, and whereas in English, each one of them is atomic. You can further divide them into a consonant and vowel combination. So when you have this as the most atomic letter, just as long as you have the sound of S, people understand, or this sound is an S sound, and when people speak, it's just a matter. It's a kind of matter of fact, but context. It's just there's no other. This doesn't morph into anything else. So people presuppose, I guess, that you're trying to say す, and in fact you are saying す. Just that you don't seem to understand, or you don't seem to hear the word in your mind. But don't worry, you are pronouncing it. So anyway, okay. So here I've explained here. Okay. So now 私は I use は as a topic marker, topic and subject marker. So most grammatically speaking, wa is a topic marker and it's not a subject marker per se. but in most languages, topic and the subject are the same thing. So what is a topic marker? Well, topic marker is marking a sentence, marking the sentence, basically trying to say, what I'm going to say is about this. So in this case, 私は like about as for me, or is speaking on myself, and or about me. This sentence is going to be about me and myself. And so speaking on myself, I am a student. That will be the proper sort of direct sort of a transcription. But that's redundant, right? And also, so topic and subject usually have the same. Usually, in many sentences, in many languages, they tend to put them together because what is a subject is usually a topic. What is a topic of a sentence? So people don't usually differentiate them, and if they have sentences that include two different, so one say suppose like a different topic and different subject, they tend to, in English for instance, they tend to change the sentence into they try to form a sentence into kind of a different way of expressing it. For instance, if you want to say so if you want to say giraffe has a long neck, this one here, the subject is obviously giraffe, and it's a subject but also topic, right? Speaking of a giraffe, they have a long neck. So it's usually a subject slash topic marker in English. This is the verb, and you don't have to worry about this yet. This is an adjective, noun, and so basically this is SV kind of subject and verb construct of the sentence. And giraffe has a long neck. In this case, in Japanese we would say kirin is a giraffe. Kubi ga nagai desu. So here, what is happening is that kirin, speaking of giraffes, kubi is a neck. Here, noun, this one, and ga is used to mark a subject, and long, the adjective is there, and because we have to end this sentence with a verb, this comes here at the very end. Now, in this case, in English, this is an expression they usually have. They kind of mix them together, subject and topic. But in Japanese, we differentiate. First, we speak about topic. Okay, so the topic of the sentence is going to be a giraffe. And okay, what about giraffes? Well, their neck is long. So their subject here is their neck and not giraffes. Giraffes are not long. I mean, they are, but they are not long in the sense that we conceive of it, right? So it's what we are talking about is the neck of the giraffe rather than the giraffe themselves, which is why we differentiate these. We need a different particles to mark if it's a subject or if it's a subject, if it's a part, if it's a topic, or if it's a subject. And but in most languages, they kind of change this into a form of a subject, a topic combination word. They will make it so that you don't have to differentiate them. So that's one reason. That's one reason why I use wa here. The topic is more important, right? We are talking about me, not about someone else. And so that's one reason why as to why I use wa here. But it's, as I said here, ga is also a subject marker. Wa can be a subject, a topic or subject marker. Wa, properly speaking, is a topic marker. And but oftentimes interchangeably, if somebody asks you what is the subject in this sentence, even though you won't find ga here, I mean, this ga, gakusei, this is the one word, so it's not a particle, right? So even if you don't find ga in this sentence, wa becomes automatically wa serves as the subject of the sentence. And so the reason why we use the topic marker, subject marker, or topic marker as a subject marker is that what is because it's introducing a topic, we are not being aggressive. It's just kind of like, oh, come to think of it, or speaking of which. And so this is very much a sort of a neutral way of saying what a topic or the subject is. If you can, of course, use ga, because it's properly speaking, this is the subject marker. But ga has the unfortunate sort of ga has an unfortunate sort of necessity or consequence that it has to include, it has to mean emphatic when it's used. So if I change wa here into ga, you can't do this. And I mean, there are situations where you might want to do this, but normally we wouldn't, because it comes with an emphasis. And what this means is I am the one that is a student, and so I am the one that you guys have been expecting for I am the one that you guys have been expecting for a long time. You don't want to really say that, because nobody really expects you. Well, depends who you are. But if you are, if they're having a birthday party and then you are the one with you, you know what I mean. So in that situation, you might want to use it. But normally, ga is best avoided. It's best not used, because it necessarily implies or includes emphasis of the subject. And the particles always they come always after the noun. So sometimes we call it people call it the postposition as opposed to prepositions in English. But here is so if you use ga, then it is I that you who is a student. You might want to say this like in like class full of international students, and then somebody wants to know a culture about Cambodia, and say like who among you is a Cambodian or from Cambodia. I am a Cambodian, right? As opposed to anyone else. So in that case, you want to say that it makes sense to emphasize this. And any other situations that you might want to use this is with different kind of verbs, but like say like who broke my glass, right? Teacher might asks you like who broke my glass. This was so precious to me, and who broke my soul, basically, right? And then you don't, this in that case you are you want to emphasize that it is I or it is you that broke the glass and not other people. You don't want to blame others on what you did, right? So in that case, you can say like 私が whatever the verb is. So in that case, using ga is basically essentially the same, has the same meaning as with exclusion of the subject. So with the exclusion of myself, with the exclusion of the others. With the exclusion of the others, I am the student and not others. That's what it means. And so that's basically pretty much obvious, I hope. Now, this one. Here, so what is the subject? Because wa is used here. You cannot see ga here, but wa you will see wa. So we, as I said, we'll use this interchangeably, wa as a subject marker, and so this entire thing becomes a subject. What is not doing here? This one is basically usually conceived as possessive, and possessive without ownership at that. So what it means I will explain, but this is not a proper a good way to understand the no particle. No particle does have the meaning of possession, but it's more of a temporary possession. And if you think of no as purely possessive, there may arise some difficulties along the way. So I would like to explain this. Okay. And sorry. So here, let's see. 私の名前 right? And what is here and dot 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 goes on. This, so what is important in Japanese is that the verb always comes at the very end, and you need to know the functions of the particle that you are using and where the particle comes. The particles usually come right after the noun, and in this case as well, watashi is a concept of I. This in English, like when you say I, like this does not, watashi does not even mean I at this point. It could be I or my, me or mine. In English though, they differentiate, they change the forms so that it's obvious that if it's a direct object or if it's a subject. But in Japanese, it's a very much it's not a it's a concept of I, and it's not substantiated as I yet, if that makes sense. So that's why you need a particle, and together, see, watashi by itself is the concept of I, so I-ness, for instance, right? Again, this is more like a philosophical jargon, but this is an I-ness, and it's a potential form. It's not an actualized form, and so so we don't know if it becomes me-ness, me or my, until we have the particle. So once you have the particle, together with the particle, it makes, this is what does this mark? This marks the subject. So if it marks a subject, you cannot, I cannot possibly be me or my. It has to be I. So together with the particle, then finally you have I. And so, which is why particle is very important. If you misplace particle, it can be a completely strange sentence. And even if you are using all the correct vocabulary, Japanese people may not understand you. So, okay, so I said this is I, right? The concept of I-ness, right? So at this point, because by itself, without a particle, you cannot properly say I or me or my yet. But this is a particle. Luckily, we have a particle here. This is noun 1, noun 2, and then here we have a subject marker. Or topic marker, whichever you might want to call it. And so subject of this sentence is not watashi no namae, the whole thing, but whatever is the closest to the subject marker. Namae, this is the noun that is the subject. And so the namae means name, as many of you probably know. And name, so the name is that ... That's what's happening here. And okay, what kind of name are you talking about? Well, the kind of name that belongs to me. So the kind of name that belongs to the larger concept of I. So I-ness, basically. So here, for the first time, with watashi plus no, it becomes determined, among these many options, this disappears, and no, the only thing that takes no, it's a possessive, is my. So my comes here, and namae is a name. So in this case, it works fairly properly, in the sense that watashi no namae wa means my name is. And there is no structure jamming or any sort of difficulties involved by using no adjective, no particle. And yeah, so in this case here, this for the simplicity's sake, we just call this entire thing as a subject. But true subject is the noun too. Or it can be, by using no, like my cat's name is, it will be watashi no neko no namae. And so no can be used more than once. But, it's just like in English, the apostrophe s or possessive, you can, these are, after like 4 or 5 apostrophes, you start to wonder what we are talking about, right? So normally we use no at most twice or 3 times at most, in order for the sentence to make sense. But yeah, so no is basically, as you are told, possessive, my would make sense. However, there is some kind of in watashi no namae, this is the most common way to learn like the no particle. So it's it makes sense to just leave it at that. But for instance, say if you want to say this, school teacher, in Japanese, school is a noun and teacher is a noun, and after each noun we have to have a particle. So this one is like, so school is gakko and teacher is sensei, and we need to we need to put no to make the sentence stick together, or phrase in this case. So this means a teacher who works at the school. And as you can see though here, it's no longer it's no longer appropriate to think of apostrophe S, right? School's teacher is weird thing. It's like, if I'm school's teacher, then I'm actually possessed by the school indefinitely, as if a slave, or I'm owned by the school, as if a slave. And so the best way to conceive of this not particle is appealing to a sense of belonging. It's a what is important to understand is that no particle is a transient, shows a transient relationship between nouns. So, because just because even if you are a teacher, school teacher, you can, of course, on your own will, quit being a school teacher and become something else, right? A doctor, or some other, or like a different school teacher, basically. So you can actually, so this no is a fairly unstable sort of a relationship, and no, it only expresses a transient possessiveness, meaning without ownership. And what this means, the best way to understand is that the second noun or the third noun, suppose there's a third noun here, noun 3, it's always, so say like school teacher's pet, for instance, right? In this case, apostrophe S makes sense, but so pet would be here. The concept of using no is always from broader to the more specific, and so pet or noun 3 that belongs to, it could be a book or anything, a book that belongs to the teacher, that belongs to the school. So it's a sense of belonging. Again, the teacher temporarily belongs to the school, but he can or she can always quit at her will. And here as well, if this was a book, let's say home, right? Then this too, the relationship can be severed at any point. If, say, for instance, I am a teacher and then I lose a book, right? In that case, a book, few days later, when a stranger is walking on the street and finds a book, that person would not associate the book is belonging to me. So basically, it's just severed. And this similar kind of concept, this kind of a conceptual sort of a play, word play is involved in many Japanese films and media. For instance, the most kind of a famous one is the Spirited Away, the movie. Spirited Away. Spirited Away. So in this movie, I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's just in this movie, it's a movie. It's a story about a girl whose name is taken by a witch, and she tries to. So without her name, she doesn't remember anything, and she doesn't even she doesn't have any identity. Yet she herself exists as a sort of a potentiality, like a she-ness does exist. And she is in search for her own name and trying to get back, get the name back. So this kind of makes sense only in Japanese construct. Here that this one, it says watashi no namae wa Issei です。This is my name. So you can just put your name here and then this. Here, in that Spirited Away movie, this was Chihiro, right? But suppose, this Issei was the name. Just like you could cut out the relationship between these two nouns, these two concepts can be separated away and basically spirited away, right? So these two names can be spirited away and leaving the concept. So because there's no particle here, it becomes just the potential I, the I in the potential form and not actualized, not materialized form. 名前 also, 名前 does exist, but at this point, whose name it is does not really, Chihiro doesn't know, or which is the only one who knows, right? So basically, it's kind of like taken the identity away. And then I, as Chihiro, is searching for her own name to get back her real identity and memory and everything. So that's a kind of story. So this works fairly well in Japanese. And Japanese, I doubt many Japanese people actually are cognizant of that sort of a wordplay here. But that's what is happening with that, and that's why the taking away of the name is important, not just historically or socially, but linguistically as well. In Japanese culture, 名前 taking this, getting rid of no particle makes it the relationships between the two nouns unstable and worse yet, like teacher's book or my book. I may not ever find my book, in which case the book loses its identity or history, I suppose, in relation to me, right? And so that's why no is kind of important to think of it as not a possessive, but it's a name. The name is something that can be attached to a larger concept. So name, the more specific idea is attached to or belongs to the larger concept of I, and which is why it's written in this way. And 私の名前は watashi no namae means just my name, but my name, so my name, that it's in the, if there's only just watashi no namae, it's just a phrase, just like in English, my name, okay, that is my name, or my name is, or you cannot tell if my name is used as an object or like what is your name, right? So only when you have wa attached to it here, finally it becomes a subject. So that's very important to note, recognize. And in this, I think there's no, I don't think there will be any questions here. Oh, and after each lesson, I always give you a handout and of like a recap of the lecture, the lesson. So most problems, if I didn't mention, forget to mention any concepts or anything that is more that's in, notable to be mentioned, you will find it there. And now we went through all these wa and ga and no, and the last one is a ka, and ka is a question marker, and it's really simple. In Japanese, when you want to change a sentence into a question form, you don't have to change any, you don't have to bother with the word order. You just have to put ka at the very end. and we didn't used to have a question mark. This is a post World War II stuff. So this used to be the correct way of asking a question. And the novels written novels written before World War II, or novels written even nowadays too. Literally, this is a more proper way to address to speak about a question in Japanese. So, 私が学生ですか would mean it's a weird sentence, but am I the student? And which could happen in some certain situations. It's not as weird as this one changing into か. This one is like 私の名前はIssei desu ka? Is like, is my name Issei? Right, well, who cares? First of all, and who knows, right? Like just show me your ID and then I can tell you. So basically, you don't, in English you have to change like what is your name, or your name is what basically is coming to change, or do you have, or you have a cat becomes do you have a cat, and so on. But in Japanese you don't have to worry about those. It's just very simple. So yeah, so that's the function of か. And so I said at the very end of the sentence always the verb comes in Japanese language, and which is true except for certain like question markers or suffixes like yo and ne, or sometimes yo ne, the combination of the composite particles. But these ones, they are kind of like asking for agreement. I'm in doubt. I am correct, right? It's kind of like a tag question. And ka is a question marker. These ones, they don't essentially alter the nature of the sentence, or the meaning of the sentence. So those one can come after this. But anything that comes after the verb is, you can fairly assume that it's not affecting the sentence itself, but usually kind of it's I suppose, I don't know, it's not probably a good way to explain it, but it kind of tell us about a class, a social ranking, social class, what kind of particles you use after this, can tell us a lot about which part of the country they are from, if they are educated, what kind of life they have been used to, and so on. So in anime, they some of them, like especially shonen manga and stuff, they on purpose put a certain character, say, on purpose make a certain character say end the sentence with strange particles that don't usually exist. But that is just to show how peculiar or how special that person is in that world of view. So it's not, it doesn't alternate, it doesn't alter the meaning of the sentence itself. It just sort of tells you where you are from, or what kind of membership or organizations you belong to. So these ones, it's not, but again, it's not that important. What is important is that whatever comes after the verb, if it's a ka, it's easy, it's a question marker. If it's not ka, then it's usually like a tag question, or sort of if it's not a question, then it's just showing I guess level of educatedness. But it doesn't usually happen though these days, because most people in Japan are lucky enough to be to be educated. To be educated. But it doesn't usually happen these days, because most people in Japan are lucky enough to be to have to be educated, to be educated. But it doesn't usually happen these days, because most people in Japan are lucky enough to be to have educated, to be educated. But it doesn't usually happen these days, because most people in Japan are lucky enough to be to have educated, to be educated. to a certain extent. So nowadays, that is. Before again World War II, World War One, during Edo period, we didn't have that much that kind of privilege to be educated. So those are the times when, so especially when you are dealing with like anime or manga that are historical, then you will have issues with seeing different suffixes, kind of like things that you've never heard or seen, because that's when they have the most, class variations were most obvious. But nowadays, yeah, the reason why the people tell you, one of the reasons why people tell you not to speak like anime character is because of that. Anime characters set in the world future or in the past, or even in the present. Some people who live, only by playing games and watching anime and doing nothing else. In those people, the weird suffixes are second nature to them, so they tend to speak like that. But which is why people tell you not to speak like anime characters, because mostly, and I think I could safely say, undeniably, because of the suffixes that they use. Because suffixes also can tell you like how polite you can be. So there's this as well, the verb. Whatever comes at the very end of the sentence in Japanese can tell you how polite you can be to others. So you do want to be careful about this. But in this modern Japanese, there is no worry about sounding weird, unless you stick to your favorite anime or manga character, which those sentences are uttered by the characters who think of themselves as the center of the universe of that world, right? So that might come across as arrogant, which is why you don't want to speak like an anime character. But of course, slice of life, something like a very serious anime that depicts a daily life or high school life, student's life. Those ones they use common, just regular suffixes, so you can imitate them as well. So it's not that all anime character, it's not like you shouldn't speak or you shouldn't learn Japanese by watching anime. Well, you shouldn't, but it's not like, strictly speaking, you shouldn't. It's just in principle you shouldn't. Okay, so that's my, so I'm sorry it took a long time. I wasn't going to spend this much time. I thought it was going to be 30-40 minutes, but it became this long. So yeah, I guess I'll wait for your comments or anything that I don't know, I guess feedback, and grade me online, so I know what I should be doing. Oh, one thing what I wanted to say, like, about the pitch accent. So why I don't think pitch accent is as important. It just naturally come to you, and also it's so, for instance, right, kumo, this could be kumo, this can be this can either mean a spider or clouds. Normally I think kumo is a spider and kumo is the clouds, but I say kumo to refer to a spider. But the point is, nobody really cares about, in real life. They, whenever I say like, spider, like a kumo, then they don't people around you would not be confused. Wait, did he just say clouds or a spider? It's obvious that there is a spider here. So, and it's just and also again so I am I admit I am a little bit weak on a proper fundamental sort of a standard Japanese pitch accent, the manual that they actually have. So which is why I have issues with kumo, pronouncing kumo in two different ways. And which one was that? But this very fact itself proves that it doesn't really matter, right? I have been able to survive without ever having been misunderstood by using how I'm saying. And so that's one thing. And also, people from Osaka, people from Tokyo, and so on. These definitely happened. But that was more of a problem in the 90s or 80s. Nowadays, it's people just come all around, so it's just not much of a. They kind of adjust. They have a standard. I don't know. I might be saying something blasphemous, but standard Osaka dialect or standard. I don't know. It's kind of it's a like foreigners and many Japanese come in and out, travel over everywhere nationwide. That it's people have been accustomed to hearing many dialects and also pitch accents, I guess. Though we don't really think about pitch accent. Like in English, when you're learning a word, you need to probably learn the stress accent. But in Japanese, when we are learning a word, normally, unless the word that has two meaning, or two or more meanings, we don't really pay attention to a pitch accent. And even at that, the vocab is usually learned through writing a kanji. So if it's cloud, so kumo, and it doesn't really matter if a student sitting next to me say kumo and I say kumo. A teacher would not care. They have better things to do. So that's another reason, but that's kind of weak reason, weak argument. The most strong argument I find is this one, hashi, right? So here, they say if you pronounce hashi like as the pitch accent here, hashi, then it's a chopstick. And if you put a pitch accent on here, going higher, hashi, then it's a bridge. True, it is true. But what many YouTubers don't tend to say is or omit, probably on purpose because they can't explain it, is that yes, it means chopsticks. Hashi can mean a chopsticks, or it can mean a bridge. But it can also mean the edge of something. So if you are eating a sushi at the edge of the bridge with chopsticks, you are saying, hashi de sushiを食べています. In which case, that doesn't make sense. How are you going to make three different meanings? How are you going to demonstrate that there are three different meanings for a word that has only two vowels? You cannot adjust pitch and say it just what this tells us is basically that the pitch accent is very much context dependent, and you will never ever say just hashi. Well, you might if you are a rude customer at the restaurant, but if you are at the restaurant, you're obviously talking about chopsticks and not the edge of, maybe edge of the table is cracked or something. But having lived for 40 years, I haven't come across any of that situation. So, and hashi and and that customer cannot be possibly talking about a bridge. I mean, he could be, but he must be delusional in that sense. So, yeah. If you have any rebuttal about this, I'm really happy to hear, because I just can't believe how you can make just simply, purely using a pitch accent, not a sentence or context or situations involved. People tend to focus on there's a pitch accent, and this is the good one, this is the second meaning, this is the first meaning, and so on. But okay, how about the third meaning? How do you change the pitch in those two letters and two verbs, right? And then how can you have three different meanings just by appealing to the pitch accents? So I don't understand this part. But then there are a few other words that has the same sort of a two letters with three different meanings. So it's very context dependent, and yeah, I don't think it makes sense to spend so much time. It's of course it's beneficial to have some kind of a spend maybe a week or two on reading through pitch accent, but I just don't, unless you want to be a linguist. If you want to just if your objective of learning Japanese is to communicate with Japanese people, just forget about this. I mean, some, again, like I might have a rebuttal from other YouTubers, but that would be nice. I would be glad to have discussions with you, because you see the problem. Like, I mean, you probably see what you probably are wondering what I'm wondering too. Like, how can these two letter word can mean three different things? And the pitch accent doesn't do that. It's usually the kanji or the combination or situation of the so really it does not make a difference. Even if you say like 箸で寿司を食べた, according to the pitch accent, people, that means I ate sushi with a bridge. But again, this doesn't make sense. Nobody, even like if you mispronounce or your pitch accent is kind of awkward or weird, according to the Japanese standards, nobody would think that you actually ate sushi with a bridge. And that's just kind of finding fault with languages. And I don't think that's a good valuable way of spending time. And so yeah, in lesson 1 I did this. Again, I'm sorry, it has taken so much, but maybe this, if this is popular enough, I might make another one. If not, I might I don't know. If not, that's not good for me either. But I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, okay. I should stop here. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on the comments. I will get back to you. If you want something extra, sort of hiragana, katakana exercise and stuff, again, direct message me. And I will be able to send you some materials for free, of course. I don't, this is just I'm doing this just as a fun, for fun. So okay, so I'll talk to you next time, maybe, or I'll see you next time, hopefully. じゃあまたね。